outside of, the football success. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for him to get fired. It's like, Waffle House or a cockroach. Like, you cannot kill Bobby Hurley.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hoop Portal. I am here today with a special guest, my man Jay Robinson. Today, we are going to get into some coaches either on the hot seat who we think might be in movement coming up in the next couple years. But before we get into it, remember, like, subscribe, enter your name in the portal, join us on the YouTube channel, and we'll edit this out if we need to. But go see Jacob's tangents and topics. It's private, so he's got to let you in. We'll edit that out if we need to. But anyway, Jacob, thank you for being here today. You want to give yourself a little quick introduction to those who don't know you, and we'll get into it.
Thank you for having me. Jordan and I go way back to the streets of Mount Pleasant, Michigan for about a month and a half, way back when. It feels, longer than it was. It wasn't that long ago, but definitely, the Central Michigan days feel like a while ago. Happy to be here. I haven't been on a microphone talking sports since my undergrad Radio DePaul sports days. So I'm definitely excited to be here talking basketball, and gives me that platform. I'm an assistant coach at Franklin and Marshall College. Small little D3 up here in Pennsylvania. And
Shout out the Diplomats.
Shout out the Diplomats. Yeah, we got the shirt for the first show, and happy to take a deep dive into. I'm excited. You've brought a lot of great energy and some really good content in the first couple of videos. I'm just happy to be here in more ways than one.
Heaven yeah, baby. Heaven yeah. All right, let's get into it. Today, again, we are going to talk about some coaches in college basketball specifically who either on the hot seat or might be moving the next couple of years. Since J-Rob is the guest, he's going to get to go first. J-Rob, go ahead, give us your first coach you see on the hot seat this year.
So my first coach on the hot seat is going to be Adrian Autry, the current Syracuse Orange basketball coach. So he took over for the Orange after Jim Boeheim retired. This is going to be his third year at the helm. 20-12 in his first year. It's good. Finished tied for fifth in the ACC. I know, we've talked a little bit outside of the show just how the ACC's kind of dropped off. So 2 years ago, finishing fifth, not that bad. Disappointing showing that year. They lost, if you remember, they lost Jordan by 20 to that NC State team in the first round of the ACC tournament that kickstarted their Final Four run. Huge step backwards last year. 14-19 record. We're in a tough territory, right? Like, is this old Syracuse? Are those days gone? Is this like a Kyle Neptune situation where they're going to have to look to hire somebody outside of the program? Like, Boeheim has been on record, like he's vouched for Autry in more ways than one, said that he was the right guy for this program towards the end of his retirement. Is Kiyan Anthony the savior of this program like his father was back in 2003, where he's just going to be the sole reason why he drags his team back to relevancy and gets them into the program? I don't know. It's a lot of questions around this program, right? JJ Starling averaged 18 points per game, but he shot 40, 27, and 68. So that's not really where it needs to be. You need a little bit more efficiency from your top scorer. There's not a lot of depth scoring 4 through 7. I was looking at some of the numbers, and they struggled with bench scoring last year. And, the only pro that I can have for this Syracuse Orange team is ACC might be wide open next year. Got a lot of new head coaches coming in, whether it be, Will Wade, Jay Lucas. You'd have to help me out with some of the new ACC faces. I know, obviously, Ryan Odom at Virginia. So it's going to be interesting to see Syracuse next year. We're kind of teetering on uncharted territory a little bit with this program that's been a staple of the March Madness tournaments, growing up and in my high school days, and nowadays not so much. So I think in terms of my one coach that I know could be on the hot seat for next season, towards the end of next season, it's Adrian Autry.
Yeah, definitely. The ACC is in a weird place, and we've talked about it. I think they're finally going in the right direction, but it is a huge changing of the guard. I always think of my favorite, honestly, Syracuse anything is Jim Boeheim getting on his press conference, I think in his last year, just completely dissing Big Ten basketball and how bad it is, and they get 10 teams in the tournament every year, and they never make it out the first weekend. That is hands down my favorite Boeheim moment. But no, yeah, you make a lot of good points. I think he's definitely one of those. There's a guy on my list that's going to be similar to him, right, that kind of has the backing of the previous coach and is kind of like a campus legend, a campus favorite. But at the same time, at what point are you just like, this is not working anymore? So definitely a good one there. He's definitely one that's going to be on the hot seat. All right, we're going to get into mine. Here we go. First one, Bobby Hurley, you are on the hot seat. Okay, this to me had to be the easiest pick out of all the coaches we could go with. He's entering the final year of his contract. He's had one 20-win season since COVID, no tournament wins, and no, the first four play-in does not count as a tournament win. And if you want to see how I feel about the March Madness stuff, check out the video that'll be at the end of this on the end screen. And he's 4-17 against Arizona. 4-17. Wow. The crazy thing is he's been there for a decade. I did not even realize that he's been there that long. Like, we were still in high school at that point. But 4-17 against your rival is just not going to cut it. And we all know he's only in this job because of his last name. But he ain't Pops, and he's definitely not little brother, which that's another crazy thing. I figured he would be older, he is older. I figured Dan would be older than him, but apparently he's just aging really poorly. But I think the truth is here with ASU, they just don't care about basketball, hence why he's been able to be in this position for so long. I think he's in his final year of the contract. They're not going to buy him out to bring in a new coach in a sport that they're not that really invested in at the moment. And I think he's just, to me, my hot take on this is that he will be the first power conference coach fired, whether it's a mutual agreement in the season or they get to the end of the season and say, okay, hey, it's time to go. We appreciate it, but we're going to go in a different direction. Also, fans, the great thing about having Jacob on here is he's a coach and he's going to give you the statistics and break it down. I'm just giving you the Pat McAfee BS takes on all this stuff. No proof and evidence. I'll give you a couple little stats sprinkled here and there, but come on, man. We know what it is with Bobby Hurley. He's out at the end of the season. It's a done deal.
So was his first season 15-16? Or was it 16-17?
15-16.
I want to say it was 15.
16.
I can't believe he's been there for that long. It's so funny. One of my close friends, Johnny, his whole tangent and one of the things that he's most passionate about was Leonard Hamilton and the fact that Leonard Hamilton was there way too long. And if you think about it, like, I cannot believe Bobby Hurley has survived this long. Like you said, Arizona State's not a powerhouse. This isn't team with Sweet 16 expectations, Elite 8 expectations. They're just happy to be in the dance. But for a team that's kind of like, I don't know, treaded some weird waters, I can't, it's the, if push came to shove, I don't know if I can name like 5 signature moments. And, like you said, post-COVID, there hasn't been a lot of winning success. And outside of, the football success, like, I don't know what it's going to take for him to get fired. It's like, Waffle House or a cockroach. Like, you cannot kill Bobby Hurley. And so you're right. But the funny part about the Bobby Hurley stuff is that we could have made this video in 2022, 2021 about like, how does he still have a job? So you're thinking it any day now, especially with NIL. And you touched on it with your expansion. Like, there's opportunities for Arizona State to be relevant in college basketball. And with him at the helm and for, coach that's been there a decade now, you just can't help but wonder, what's his locker room presence like? And I don't know. Can't be great.
Because it's very similar. He's got a similar personality to Dan without success.
Right.
I won't throw you under the bus, but I know Hurley is not one of your favorites. I love him.
He's kind of grown on me.
You have to win. You have to. If you're going to be like that, you have to win. Or you just look like a you-know-what. Crazy thing, though, because we are going to diss Hurley because he is doing a terrible job at ASU. He actually did win the last time Arizona State and Arizona played. They did win that game.
Got to give him credit.
So got to give him credit. You got the last one.
I feel like that game got a little bit chippy. If I remember correctly, that's the game that kind of had like the dust up post game.
Yeah.
Got it.
Caleb Love probably shot like 30 shots from beyond 20 feet and missed all of them. Shout out to Caleb Love, Carolina days.
Oh, that's fantastic. So my second coach, Fred Hoiberg. In terms of coaches and backgrounds, like, he's had a unique one, obviously, with the Chicago Bulls. How solid those Iowa State teams. Like, I still remember, the Monte Morris, Georges Niang. Like, I loved those teams. They were some very solid basketball teams. And Fred Hoiberg, it's so funny. Nebraska's a weird job, similar to Arizona State. Not a lot of money, not a lot of attention. Obviously, football is the pressure point for that university. In the 6 seasons he's been at the helm of the Cornhuskers program, you want to take a stab, Jordan, at his overall winning percentage? In 6 years, what do you think it's at? You might be muted. I don't know if I got that last part.
My bad, my bad. I'm gonna give him 47%.
47%. That's a good guess. 43.8%. So they've gone 84 and 108 in his 6 years in Nebraska. And look, the 23-24 season was a fun one. You had the emergence of Keisei Tominaga. They had the 2 top 6 wins against Purdue and Wisconsin. They even made the NCAA tournament, which is fantastic for Nebraska. But I don't know. What do our standards look like? Like hovering around the middle of the pack in the Big Ten is good enough to keep your job at Nebraska? Like, I don't know. It's kind of tough. And similar to Arizona State, NCAA tournament expansion, potential death of the mid-major NIL expansion. Like Nebraska's not broke here. This is a university that has the money. They have the funds. And like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's an argument that falls on deaf ears, but I just feel like the bar should be a little bit higher for somebody who's like Fred Hoiberg with that NBA experience, with that Iowa State experience, even if it's just Nebraska. And I feel like that seat's getting a little bit warm headed into this year.
Definitely. I think the Big Ten, you know how I feel about the Big Ten. I think it's a joke of a conference when it comes to all the power conferences. Every year it's the same thing with these teams. And I'm told by the media all season long how good the Big Ten is. And I honestly think that plays a part in some of these coaches. We look at Wisconsin. We talk about Fred at Nebraska. Like, there's almost this acceptance of, like, if I can just be in the middle of what the media deems the best conference in the country, then I should be able to keep my job. And I think Fred has had back-to-back 21 seasons. But again, it's kind of what you said. It's like, what is the standard that you're going to set at Nebraska? And again, it's like if they keep this where it's like, look, we're good with that and we want football to go, then maybe they're fine with it. Kind of similar to ASU. Maybe Bobby Hurley and Fred get contract extensions this summer and you and me look like idiots.
And I will say, Jordan, like me and you aren't making these points about coaches that are entering year 2, year 3 when it comes to Hoiberg and when it comes to Hurley. Like these are coaches that have been there for a while. So if that's the case, I feel like the body of work has to be a little bit more impressive if you're in that 6 to 8 to 10 year tenure range. It's not, we're not talking about a Nebraska head coach that's entering year 2, year 3. Those expectations are obviously a little bit different. But Hurley's case and Hoiberg's case, it's a large sample size for mediocre results.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, too, it's just, I mean, you touched on it with Syracuse, the age of NIL and transfer portal, you can flip programs in a year. Like you can literally flip an entire program on its head in 3 months. And look at what Will Wade's doing. I mean, obviously they haven't played at NC State yet, but that team on paper, I mean, now State is one of these weird schools where it's like they get this Final Four run, then they fire my man Keats, and then they bring in Wade, but Wade is like he's there, and the whole program has this new just identity and culture around it, and he's taking shots at Hubert Davis in a introductory conference, calling him an idiot and saying he doesn't understand why this kid's playing. It's in this day and age, you should be able to flip programs. And like you said, once you get to year 5, 6, 7, and 8, like this is who it is. This is who you are. And the school just has to decide whether or not they're good with that. Yeah. All right. My second coach, someone who's not really on the hot seat. I think he's going to be someone that's going to move elsewhere, though. I don't see him long term. And this is Porter Moser at Oklahoma. He's had back-to-back 21 seasons. They made the tournament last year. The problem with Oklahoma has been once they get into the conference, whether they were in the Big 12 or when they were in the SEC. The last 2 years, this is actually kind of crazy. They are 25-2 in the non-conference over the last 2 seasons.
Wow.
So amazing starts, and they were 13-0 this year. 13-0 this year to start in the non-conference, but they get into it and just completely fall off a cliff. But again, this is kind of running as a similarity and a double point across all these coaches. Oklahoma's a football school. That is not even in question. That's not ASU, Nebraska. Well, Nebraska had their history, but we know where Oklahoma stands when it comes to sports. And the crazy thing is too, with Porter, and this isn't a take like he's done a bad job at Oklahoma. I think he's done decently well and it's been progressing the right direction. He's just a coach to me that is better served at a blue blood or a power school that's really trying to invest in basketball. I just look at what he did at Loyola Chicago. It is still like I know the years pass and it keeps going and gets further and further, but what he did there was not just a one blimp thing. It was we made a Final Four run and then we doubled down on it by winning another regular season championship, and it was just another frisky team, and then won another conference championship after that before he went to Oklahoma. So this wasn't like a 1 year blimp St. Peter's Peacocks type thing, right? Where it was just like they had one crazy run and that was it. Like Porter Moser knows how to coach basketball and win at a high level. And I think he's just a coach that he's got to get to a different situation. I think at the time it made sense to go make that jump from a mid major to a power like that. But I do think that he is a coach that's probably going to be somewhere in the next couple of years. Fun fact though, when I was reading about this, I've never ever heard of a coach that has this in their contract, but he has a stay at home clause, which gives him a $200,000 bonus annually to just stay at Oklahoma.
Wow.
Because he's got another 2 years left on his contract, and those I mean that I've never seen that before, and it was like Oklahoma knew what they were doing, what was happening when they brought him in, and it was like we're gonna give you a bonus just to stay. But then the weird part of it on the back end is they're not investing in him as if they wanted him to be there. Now you can't take that 200 grand and just give it to kids, not legally or whatever. Now this NIL
Right.
Go is going to check all that stuff, but at the same time, it's like I'm sure Port well maybe not, but I'm sure Moser is like, we need this money invested back in the program. I'm happy to take my 200K a year check. No, I'm not going to complain about that. But it's like if you invested in this and you have a coach that is probably going to be sought after by other schools every single year, why wouldn't you just invest back into him? And that's where I'm just confused, I guess, with Oklahoma and what their decision to do and why they brought him in the first place. But to me, he's one of those coaches. He's not really on the hot seat. You're not going to fire a coach that has a stay-at-home clause. But I think he's one that should be, and I hope he does end up at a new school in the next couple of years. I know one school I would love to see him at, but I'm not going to comment on that one at the moment.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is a program that's not that far removed from when Lon Kruger took him to the Final Four in 2016. And when he got that job, you think to yourself, "Oh, this is." I loved him at Loyola Chicago. He was a media darling for what he did with those Rambler basketball teams. And yeah, this is a team that Oklahoma. It's great for college basketball when Oklahoma is really good, whether it be the Buddy Hield years, the Blake Griffin years, so on and so forth. And
Shout out Trey Young.
shout out
TBD.
Trey Young. How can I forget? I had such a fun time watching his freshman season. And I get up for a lot of regular season college basketball games, and I remember when, just watching him just go to work. And so, yeah, I totally agree. That seat is cold if you're a perennial round of 32 Sweet 16 program. Like that's fantastic. That's an amazing job at Oklahoma. And it's been a little bit of a letdown with where that program's been and then his first two seasons. And I know the Big 12's tough, and like you said, we're operating out of football school here, so I get where the priority lies. But yeah, I totally I think that's a fantastic like poach candidate. There's probably going to be 5 or 6 articles come late February, early March of a lot of schools that have their coaching that need a head coach. He's going to be at the top of a lot of people's lists. So I definitely agree with Porter Moser. And like you
Fresh.
said, maybe for him and for his career, the best thing for him is to move on to kind of like that blue blood school.
Out of curiosity, just fresh off the dome, Oklahoma and the SEC this season, are they closer to 1 or closer to 16?
It's got to be closer to 16.
Yeah.
It's closer to 16, and that's what I said. Like I know, obviously, he was there from that transition from the Big 12 to the SEC, but man, that's tough. Ole Miss had a heck of a season, and they were what, like the 6th or 7th seed entering conference tournament. Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's going to be tough in this conference, and for a team like he's in a tough position, and I totally forgot about that. Like it's already tough being at Oklahoma. Now this is Oklahoma in the SEC. It's a lot different than being a blue blood at a Big East school, at a Big Ten school, heck, even the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think of like Arkansas, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, who else? Kentucky. I mean, Ole
Yeah.
Miss. Like it's just, I mean, that conference is loaded. Why the Big Ten is considered better than them, I have no idea. I'll never understand it. But SEC and honestly, I take the Big 12 over the Big Ten. The Big 12 to me is tougher than the Big 10 is.
I'm sensing a lot of Big Ten anger. Is there is there a couch in that room where you can just like put your feet? Like I'll be the therapist here if you need to get anything off your chest about treatment of the Big Ten. It seems like this is something that's been boiling up for a little while.
Actually, I have like pillows with every like Big Ten coach and Jay Billis's face on it. And I just go to town on them, just throwing haymakers left and right. The Jay Billis one I can flip, and Greenberg's on the other side.
Nice.
All right, you're into your last one, third.
My last coach.
Let's hear it.
All right, give me Mick Cronin. So, to me, the seat might not be fully hot, but this is kind of like what I'm calling like eyebrow-raising season. So, seat's not going to be scorching, but we're starting to warm up just like a little tiny bit. The one break I'm going to give him is obviously last season's definitely a little bit of an adjustment season, navigating being a West Coast team with a lot of tough road Big Ten games, and being that West Coast team that's traveling in the Big Ten. It's an adjustment period. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack. But in the 2 years since their Sweet 16 run when they lost to Gonzaga on that Strother game winner, 16-17 and 23-24 with no tournament bid. Last year, 23-11, lost to Tennessee in the round of 32. But the thing is, though, and he's done a great job overall at UCLA. Like, I give him like an A-, B+ in terms of like a satisfactory grade. Obviously, that 2021 run was phenomenal. You had a lot of eyes on the program after he called out his players and calling them soft, delusional during that tough stretch of games back in January. That's going to create the attention. And that, I think, like by default, makes the seat a little bit warm. Like, if there's enough tension there where you need to call out guys, not like in a, Coach K, we're first in the ACC, but we only beat Pitt by 10. And so I'm going to, throw my guys under the bus. I'm going to call Jason Tatum soft. Like, yeah, I get that. There's different levels to it. The Mick Cronin calling people out kind of shows a little bit some signs of uneasiness. Like, I don't know how stable it is if you're going to resort to that. And I know we could unpack that and break that down. And that's another video for another time. But what happens next season? Come January, you're hovering around 500 in conference, maybe an ugly loss or two on the road. With all the stuff that happened last year, like it wouldn't shock me if there are some rumblings about him trying to look for another job or UCLA moving forward with another candidate in mind.
Yeah, I think he is a really good coach. And I mean, I loved what he did in January to call them out.
I don't necessarily hate it either, but I know from the media, UCLA fan booster point of view might not be as, solidified. We know Mick Cronin stamped in our book. He's a friend of the show. He can come on anytime. But I understand from like a national standpoint, it gets a little shaky when that happens, especially with how these last two seasons have gone.
Yeah, and I just to me, I think a piece of this, which I did not realize Jay Billis was going to get thrown so much into this podcast tonight. When Jay Billis went on ESPN and called him out for the comments that he was making, and it was like, I'd like to see him post up and guard one of his players. It's just like, okay, now you're just taking shots at him personally, where it's like, this isn't rooted in anything. And like you said, it's just, to his credit, they are getting paid. Like, this is not, I think that's the other thing missed by people that aren't really tuning into this, is college basketball it's professional basketball now. Like, it's pro, and specifically at the Power Four, it's pro sports now. They are getting paid to do a job. They can't just come in and be superstars or act like superstars and divas like they play for the Lakers. I'm about to go on a Croter. I'm saying the same thing he did. If you want to watch it, go find his clip. But I remember too, like you said, navigating that schedule is difficult. Right. Like he said in one of the coaches, he was like, we've seen the Statue of Liberty 3 times by Christmas because they're playing at Rutgers. They're playing at, I'm guessing they probably went to Maryland, but it was
some
just
game
like,
at the Garden.
Yeah. How do you navigate? Oh, yeah, they played Carolina at the Garden. How do you navigate that schedule, being in LA and having to go across I haven't seen the conference schedule for them this year. I don't know if the Big Ten has released theirs. I've seen the ACC, but I'd be curious to see what road games they have this year. And he did make another solid point to shout out Cronin, but he did say people want to complain that it's tough for those teams to come all the way to the West Coast, and he's like people come vacation in L.A. Us and USC are right down the street. These kids they bring their families, their girlfriends, their second girlfriends. They all come to LA to come play against UCLA and USC. They love it. So don't tell us, it's the same as us having to go to East Rutherford in January and February versus them coming to LA. But the question I got for you though is what does he need to do this year to solidify himself? And like you said, it's not super hot, but what do you need to see out of UCLA and him this year to be like, okay, he's set, he's solid, he's good. There's nothing to worry about.
It's simple. Can't lose the trap games on the road in conference. So I wrote down the losses from last year. At Nebraska, at Maryland, at Rutgers, at Illinois, at Purdue. If UCLA does better this season, which I expect them to, I believe they will, with those road trap in conference games, that Tuesday night where you don't really want to be at Rutgers, and you don't really want to be at Nebraska, don't really want to be in College Park, Maryland on a Thursday in January, have to do better with those games, and I think that he'll be just fine.
Yeah, definitely ready to see how they navigate it. Oregon's kind of was in the same boat, and they had some really good. I mean, they went and played at Michigan State, looked really great, and then just kind of fell apart towards the end. I think there's a big piece of that to look into. Okay, this last person on my end. This is strictly motivational. Okay, because I am truly pulling for this guy. I enjoy him. He is an amazing dude, great family, great all of it, okay? I don't think this is a Hubert Davis problem. I think this might be an entirety of UNC athletics the way it is right now across the board.
And I'm going to give you your props. You've been consistent by saying this is not just Hubert Davis. This is North Carolina as a whole. But please, floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this up somewhere, a little graphic somewhere. But we've got two schools we're gonna compare them. Okay, one is obviously UNC. The other is a mid-major program. This is done in the last 3 years. Both these schools have 2 tournament appearances in the last 3 years, and to be honest with you, Carolina was extremely lucky to get in last year. Carolina's got 72 wins compared to this school's 68. And from a quad 1 win standpoint, Carolina's at 12 to this school's 11. Would you like to take one guess on who you think this mid-major school is?
Mid-major. And this is from this past season?
The past 3 years.
Past 3 years. Mid-major from the past 3 years. Oh, man. We'll go Dayton.
Dayton. Actually, probably have been a bit better. This is Nevada Wolfpack out of the Mountain West Conference. That's what Carolina has been the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to the Mountain West. I love the Mountain West. Shout out Steve Alford too in his days at the Lobos. Okay, I absolutely love Steve Alford and what he did there. He was a guy that went to UCLA and struggled, and now he's at Nevada and he's doing a solid job. But the point is UNC, you have to decide if you want to be North Carolina or if you're content being Nevada. And the buzz around Chapel Hill is we are not content being Nevada. But the crazy thing too is, and you wouldn't have seen this, but there UNC. Now I honestly hope to God they took it down. But there was a post on the UNC basketball Instagram page celebrating getting the 11 seed last year and going to the play-in. And I'm like, what has happened to this program? We're celebrating being a play-in team and having to play our way to then lose to Ole Miss. And here's my thing for Hubert. Okay, Hubert, if you're listening to this, okay, I know you're probably not. But if you are, the off chance you are, you've got a Final Four. You were up 15 in a national championship game. You have a regular season ACC championship. You've got $13 million this year to spend on NIL. The community loves you. You are part of the UNC family. I am pulling for you to get the ship going in the right direction. Duke is not going anywhere. NC State is calling us out. Will Wade is out here on some gangster stuff like he was back at LSU, and he's calling our program dumb and not even able to mention us by name. That needs to motivate, if not Hubert, it needs to motivate the entire athletic department. Because we North Carolina's in a spot right now where it's like we don't know what we're doing, where we're going. The biggest piece that gives me a sense of hope is that they brought in Bill Belichick, because we know football is the moneymaker. But and hopefully that works out. College game day is coming to Chapel Hill on Labor Day. Can't wait for that. It's gonna be awesome. But Carolina's at a crossroads where they have got to decide, where it's like, if you want to be Duke and continue to compete with Duke post this Coach K era, or if you want to be Florida State with Hamilton the last 10 years. And even then, they've had more NBA players than UNC has. So I am hopeful. I am pulling for them. This is not a diss on anybody over there. This is simply, we have got to collectively change. Please make the right decisions and keep it going. Hubert, we are pulling for you, and I do believe in you, Mr. Davis. I do believe that this could, because, and you've seen it, it is the biggest roller coaster. I could go on a 20-minute tangent. I'm not. This is a roller coaster. I mean, dude, because year one, it started down here. Then they got hot, beat Duke twice, made it to the national championship, blow a 15-point lead, and then missed the tournament the next year. And then it's like, okay, we got to ride this. Then they ride it, win the ACC regular season championship, and end up losing to Alabama in the Sweet 16. And then we get into this year, and it's like, okay, now we've supposedly had it figured out. And then this year's team was extremely lucky to get into the tournament. So I'm curious, as someone who is not a Carolina native, a Carolina grad, and a Carolina fan, as to what your viewpoint is on this saga at UNC right now.
Yeah, I will never want North Carolina or Duke to be poor in college basketball. I need the both of them as consistent and winning, even if it's from a natural, competitive standpoint, or a villain standpoint, hero standpoint, like however you want to dice it up. North Carolina and Duke need to be good. I think a lot of it was just, it's funny. It's the Nick Saban quote of, if you don't spend that $10 million, you're crap out of luck. And I don't think it was a coaching staff failure this past season. It's sometimes you swing and miss on the wrong guys. And I'm confident that, like you said, how last season went, combine that with Bill Belichick arriving on campus, combining that with the NIL, and Will Wade, doing Will Wade things. I think it's going to be it's the kick in the pants that North Carolina needs. You need, and you're going to have to help me out with the dates here, you need that missed tournament, the low expectation. Like, something happened in the 2010s, they missed a tournament, right? Like, there was a bunch of injuries. I want to say like 2012, 2013 maybe. They had missed the tournament.
It was 2011.
I want to say like Kendall Marshall had an injury, or like somebody got hurt, wherever it was, like John Henson, someone to that standpoint.
Yeah, Kendall Marshall broke his hand.
And then it just derailed the season. And then look what happened 2013 to 2019. You had the two national championship seasons. So I think even if it's a down year, it's not going to be for long. And I'm fully consistent that I'm fully confident rather that they're going to be in a really good position this time next season.
I hope so. And I'll
ask you, what does Hubert Davis need to do? What is a satisfactory season in your mind next season? Is that Sweet 16 or it's a failure? Is that you got to be in the semis of the ACC tournament? You have to make it to the ACC championship? You have to split against Duke? Like, what does it look like in your eyes?
I genuinely don't know, because I think Hubert Davis and this team have the ability to play in national championship games and ACC championships. But we see the ability to not make it to the tournament at all. And so it's like and that's where it's like, okay, if we set the bar in the middle, make
Was
the
that
tournament.
was that roster a national championship roster last season?
I mean, I would say they're better than an 11 seed.
Right.
RJ Davis.
Were
mean,
they
just,
was that a top 3 seed roster? Top 2, maybe third seed.
I think
that I don't.
I give you that.
Don't,
top 4. They absolutely should have been top 4 seed last year.
You think that was a top 4 seed roster last year?
I genuinely do. I think and the I could go in on this, but the problem is too.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And this is before my time, but I'm just basing this off of things that I've heard and stories and watching documentaries. Duke was faced with the same situation where it was like Carolina with Dean Smith was running wild. And they had to make a decision with K if they were going to really keep him and back him and let him go. And that changed it. Duke became Duke because of North Carolina, but then that pushed North Carolina further. So unfortunately, we still have to compare Carolina to Duke, and they are so far from Durham right now that's the piece too to me where it's like I can't put on a scale of like we need to finish top 3 in the ACC and get to the second weekend of March. Because one, that should be the standard anyways. It's North Carolina, but two, there's an element, and you'll get this. There's a element of how you lose the last game of the season too.
That's a good point.
And so if the Alabama game and the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago, we didn't make the best adjustments, and I think Nate Oates showed that he was a better coach in that game, and you saw it with the matchups and the style of play and the way it happened, and there wasn't this growth from that. I think a lot of us thought, okay, there's going to be growth here. We're going to see a change, because the other thing with Hubert is this is year 5 he's going into. So in retrospect, he is still a baby head coach. Like, he hasn't been doing this a long time.
This is supposed to be the year that it comes all together.
I think at this point, there's no more excuses. I think at this point, there's also a piece of, and Theo Pinson has talked about on his podcast, there's a piece of the money needs to go into the program. They give him $13 million. They go spend it. They bring in guys from Alabama. They bring in guys from Europe. They're bringing in shooters. They're bringing in size. Like last year, Carolina had 2 guys on the roster that were taller than 6'9", which that in today's age of college basketball is ridiculous. Like, you can't expect to play power 4 conference basketball with 2 guys over 6'9". This year, they've got 6 of them, 5 or 6 now that they brought this last big in from High Point. And so it's like, okay, you've made the adjustment and got the bigs. You went and got a couple shooters. You have Seth Trimble coming back. You have the ability to coach a team to the national championship. We've seen it. So now at this point, there's $13 million there. The ACC is not this super tough conference. This isn't the SEC. At this point, to me, is where it's like there's no more excuses.
Yeah.
The coach should be able to do it. The players know what to expect. They've got the size. They've got the money. They're in a poor conference. They need to be a 25-win team and getting to the second weekend at bare minimum. And I'm nervous because I think the problem is when I actually don't think Hubert is going to. I don't, unless it completely goes haywire this year, I don't think he's going to get fired.
It would have to be really bad.
It'd have to be really bad because I think Carolina has this notion of we keep it in the family too.
Right.
Who are they going to get?
Right.
Wes Miller. That's the only option.
Right.
Or Stackhouse. Like, there's nobody out there, and it's like, okay,
that would be something.
That would be something. I mean, I don't know if it would work. I don't know if Vanderbilt is
what's Tyler Hansbrough up to these days.
Yeah, that another thing. And that's where it's just like, and every year I'll give you this because I hear it all the time. All the names get thrown out. I just had this conversation with my dad, and he is so delusional when it comes to this stuff. He's like, fire Hubert today, and go ask Brad Stevens, go ask Tony Bennett and go ask Jay Wright, bring him out of retirement. I'm like, are you stupid? They're not coming to North Carolina. Like, that's not, and it's just like so far from the point. That's such like an old man take though on it. Just like get rid of him and bring one of my favorite coaches from 20 years ago back in.
Right. Right.
That's where they're at. Oh my goodness. But yes, I hope they get it right, because the scary thing is it's one thing because Duke is going to be Duke, but it's scary when now you're feeling like, okay, NC State might be better than us this year. And that's where it's like, what is happening? Like, what is going on right now? And that's the scary part. And like you said, I hope it's the kick in the back that the school needs, because I don't think it's a Hubert problem. I think it's a school decision right now on what we're doing.
100%. I'm excited. Next, there's a lot of eyes. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on North Carolina sports in this next academic year. I'm excited for it. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't.
I'm up for it. I've never been excited for a UNC football season. So this is crazy, and I'm all aboard the hype train. And I was over there the other day and almost bought a Chapel Bill sweatshirt. I'm not there yet. Let's see how we play against TCU.
You're telling me Mitch Trubisky, Drake May, Mac Brown was not getting you as hyped as you are right now?
No, because I
respect it.
No, because
you're talking
I know
to New
it's
England
going to happen. Every
Right.
year they start 6-1 and then they completely implode on themselves. Like, and that's just it's a consistent 8-4. This year's team, they might go 10-2. I might book them for 10-2.
I'm gonna have
Probably
to get you
lose
on
to Clemson, probably lose the state, but I think they can be. I think if they beat TCU, they're actually sitting pretty.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the pod today. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, come on, like, subscribe, enter the portal. Check out Jacob's podcast as well. We'll put all the links and stuff in the descriptions. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next one.